Okay. So the message is telling me that we're live. I'm hoping that we actually are live. Um, and I'm wondering if anybody in the Pumpkin Planners Rock group can hear us. I think we are live in the group.
I just got notification that we're live.
Awesome. Okay. That is great. Okay. So, welcome to everybody who is here today. I really appreciate everyone who takes the time to jump in and hear what we have to say, and we hope it'll be really helpful. I am really excited about today's topic because I think that good planning is really the key to coming out on top of any situation, and in particular, a crisis situation. Before we jump in, I want to make sure that everyone knows who I am and why I'm here interviewing Dave and Christeen today. I am Donna Leyens, and 8 years ago, I co-founded Pumpkin Plan Your Biz with Mike Michalowicz. And we started the company because most business coaches and consultants find themselves reinventing the wheel with every client, producing inconsistent results for their clients, and frankly, mental burnout for the coach. That's what I was experiencing before I met Mike. So we offer training and certification in our proven business growth process, which is based on the strategies in the book, The Pumpkin Plan by Mike Michalowicz. And this enables our business strategists to easily and consistently deliver high value to more clients. We started this Facebook group to bring entrepreneurs together to share strategies and experiences and to be able to learn from and bounce ideas off of like-minded business owners. So welcome to everyone who just joined our group recently. I think a few of you may have even just joined a few minutes ago. So today we are here with Christeen and Dave Rinn of Core Growth Strategies to talk about how to create an effective recession action plan. Christeen and Dave make quite the powerful team. Christeen is the founder and CEO of Core Growth Strategies. She is a certified Pumpkin Plan strategist since 2018 and is also a mastery level certified Profit First professional and a founding member of Fix This Next Advisors. Christeen has more than 20 years of experience in accounting, bookkeeping, and financial consulting, and she is passionate about helping small businesses flourish and entrepreneurs to live better lives. Dave Rinn is Vice President and Chief Operating Officer at Core Growth Strategies and brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to the team from over 30 years in the accounting, tax, and business management fields. He has previously owned his own accounting firm and served as CFO to businesses large and small. He is a certified master Profit First professional, a certified Fix This Next advisor, is working on his Pumpkin Plan certification, and enjoys teaching and coaching business owners. He places great value on education and communication and strives to consistently provide top quality service. He lives in Falls City, Washington, loves the Pittsburgh Steelers and Washington Capitals, and is an above average cook, or so he says. Together, Christeen and Dave bring significant expertise to their Core Growth Strategies clients. Their expertise includes lawn care and landscaping companies, construction and professional service industries, including attorneys, chiropractors, accountants, consultants, and real estate companies. And they work with their clients to streamline systems, build a solid team, and cater to their best and most profitable customers while greatly improving profitability and long-term sustainability. Dave and Christeen have started a strategic action group specifically for lawn care and landscaping companies to help them survive and thrive through the disruption of this pandemic. And the link to learn more about that group is on the screen. You can see it right below my picture. It's coregrowthstrategies.com/survive to thrive. And if you're in a different industry and you would like to learn about joining a strategic action group run by one of our other Pumpkin Plan strategists, you can go to pumpkinplanyourbiz.com /strategic-action to find an appropriate group for you. And that URL is scrolling across the screen. Okay, so after all of that, I would like to say welcome to Dave and Christeen. So welcome, guys. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Okay, so before I start grilling the two of you with questions, I do want to ask our participants, the people who are here with us live, a question. How many of you already had a plan for a downturn in the economy before the current crisis happened? I'm just curious, just post in the comments either yes, I had a plan, or no, I didn't have a plan. The reason why I'm asking this question is because we know that the best time to plan for something is not when you're in the throes of a crisis experiencing fear and panic, but when you are calm and clear-headed. So Christeen and Dave, I'd like to start by asking you guys, what kinds of responses are you seeing out there to the current crisis? Do you have any clients who already had a recession plan? And if so, what's the difference between those who did and those who didn't? What are you seeing?
So I would say yes, that we do have clients that had a recession plan in place. And I would say that I think we even had clients that didn't know that they had a recession plan in place.
Okay.
So, in that being said, that, they didn't completely know that they had a recession plan in place, meaning that they, had been planning and working, in their business, to build up a very healthy financial, and secure business. And what we're finding with those companies is, they had been working with, coaches, advisors, like us, and implementing systems in their business like Profit First, pumpkin plan strategies, and really making an effort to build out that strong foundation and, moving towards that. So with that being said, they were the ones kind of making that movement towards doing something in their business to build that strong foundation. So when something like this hit, they didn't really realize how much they had built, in their strong foundation to withstand some, a recession like this to hit so fast and unexpected. There's other, clients that we have that had been building towards this. So they knew that when something like this happened, that they were going to be very well prepared for it. Then we have our other clients that we've been working for, which I like to call them kind of like our baby rock star clients. They're, the ones that they're not there yet. They know they're not there yet. They've come to us and they're realizing, I really need to make a change. This is a really big leap for me. And it is scary, when you're that business owner and you're saying, I haven't been doing it right. I need to make this change. And it is really scary to make these types of commitments, to, invest in these types of changes and work with a professional, coach and advisor, and start committing to these big, changes in your business. And these were the ones that, they weren't quite prepared, but they were prepared enough to where they could reach out to us and ask the right questions and know that they had somebody to lean into to say, what do I do now? What are the right moves to make? And, what resources do I need to get connected to, or do I need to have in place to survive through this? What are the right things to do? So they may not have had that strong foundation of, a ton of cash in the bank, or, the right solid financial health in place, but they had the right people that they were connected to.
So what I hear you saying is, even if you didn't have a plan before, it's not too late.
Yeah, it definitely, it's not too late. The people that had the right people in place, they have a few steps ahead, but it's definitely not too late to get connected to the right people and start making the right changes now.
Yeah. And, kind of going back to that crisis response mode, one of the concepts and the tools that we rely on in the Pumpkin Plan toolbox that we've discussed before is called the survival trap. And this tool has become exceptionally relevant and helpful during this time. And I know that you use this tool, Christine and Dave. So, can you tell us how you're using the survival trap to help your clients make better decisions for their businesses and effectively plan for the future? And just tell people, I know I've talked about it before, but maybe just give people an overview of what the survival trap is.
The survival trap is essentially a a panic response to something. So you you see your business in trouble, so you go in 10 directions at once. Um, and you try to do anything and everything that you think is necessary to survive. You lower your prices, you extend credit where you shouldn't. It's a lot of knee-jerk, uh, in the spur of the moment reaction to things rather than a plan. And you think, I have to do this to survive. I need to get more sales to survive. I got to cut my prices to keep my clients. It's doing anything and everything, but with a very short-term focus, because what you think you're doing is creating a path through the crisis, when actually what you're doing is digging a hole. And I've always found if you're digging a hole and you find yourself at the bottom of the hole, it's best to stop digging. So
Maybe find a ladder somewhere.
maybe find a ladder, yeah. But at the very least, stop digging. Um, so the survival trap is doing all these actions that are in the short term seem like they're the right responses, but in the long term they're very harmful. So what we have is we help people pick the right response and the right non-panicked rational approach that creates a long-term viability plan.
So I'm curious, I'm just going to interrupt for 1 second. I'm wondering if anyone here has experienced this where a crisis happens and they just start almost throwing spaghetti on the wall just to see what sticks. And don't worry, you are in good company if that's how you've been responding, just trying to figure out what's the best move. But I'd like to just have people post what their experiences have been with that. But so, how do you help someone who's caught in the survival trap to figure out what the right moves are and what are the wrong moves for them?
So if we're working with a client, we might have already an action plan in place for them for their business. If we're working through some pumpkin plan strategies and we already know, what their sweet spot of their business is, what their unique offering is for their business. So we'll have conversations regularly when we're going through, their monthly review or their quarterly review. And there's always interesting things that come up, with our business owners, to where they'll say, oh, well, we're going to buy this, or we're going to go this direction, or we're going to offer this new service. And it's kind of like, okay, hold the phone. Let's talk about this. So yeah, like, let's take a big time out. We love the term cash is king. So, let's stop. Let's not spend that money right now. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the highest return on investment. So we have those conversations a lot with our clients, and it's planning around that. So we really keep them focused on what is it that is really serving your business. And it really goes around the whole pumpkin plan concepts. And so that's where we try to keep them focused. And it is the same thing in this situation with the survival trap, and even, with the recession. It's, let's not get crazy, let's not come from a place of fear. Let's not, get too far out of the box, and stay focused on what's most important. And we don't want to, step too far left or too far right. We still, even if we have to, kind of do that concept of pivot, we still want to pivot from what it is that you are offering and what your unique offering is in your business.
Right. So,
And I just wanted to add one thing. So the concept of a pivot too is not, if you're a NASCAR driver, a pivot is not a sharp right turn. A pivot is, making adjustments in your vehicle. A pivot is, making a small degrees change that will help you sustain and maintain. It's not a radical departure. So if you're a roofer, you're not going to start suddenly decide, well, I'm going to add windows because now seems like a good time to add windows to. So that's not the kind of pivot we're talking about. We're talking about by degrees and
yeah.
making smart, and it could be 15 degrees, but it's not radical.
So if you know what your unique offering is, what your skills are, the resources that your company has, and who your top clients are, what I hear you saying is you can make some small adjustments that don't take you away from your ultimate goal or don't take you too far away from your ultimate goal, but will adjust to the current environment.
Right. Like switching from in-person meetings to Zoom meetings. That's a pivot. It's not radical. It's a change and it's a different delivery, but it's still, and it might even be better because you've saved travel time, you saved a lot of things, but that's a kind of pivot where you've switched how you deliver a service or switch a message in some way.
Yeah, so let's maybe talk about some of your clients. I know, for example, you work with lawn care and landscaping companies, which most of them, I'm assuming, are still operating. I know it varies from state to state, but what changes have they had to make in the way they do business, and how have you helped them figure out which are the right changes to make and which are maybe going off in the wrong direction?
So, one of the impacts that they've had is not being able to make contact with people. So, the customer service aspect of this industry is huge. So being able to have that face-to-face interaction is huge. Making contact when you're out on site or letting them know, what it is that's going wrong on their property or, the type of infestation that's happening that on their property, what's killing their grass or their trees or, something like that. And not being able to walk, let's say, the homeowner around the property to educate them on what it is that's happening. So this is impacting them on being able to make the technicians making that personal one-on-one contact out on site. So some of the suggestions that, we have made is doing a recorded video to go out and deliver to the customer from the technician, while they're on site. So it still makes that contact and that personal delivery, and the customer still knows that they care because they don't want to feel, left out or forgotten, or that service isn't being delivered just because COVID is out there, impacting that delivery. So we've had conversations about that with them and just helping them, be innovative and figuring out, well, how do I manage around these areas or these things that could be affecting my business or these concerns?
So that kind of leads me to my next question, which is sometimes when you're in the middle of a crisis, it's difficult to see the opportunities. But what opportunities are you guys seeing as we plan for what's coming next, which may be a recession followed by coming out of the recession? Like, how do we find those opportunities and leverage them?
What we're seeing is a lot of opportunities in your business to sit back and take stock even more. So to look at things like, do I have the right number of people? Do I have the right people in the right seats? Am I taking advantage of the opportunities that I have? Is there a piece that I'm missing that I've always wanted to do and now's a good time to do? Do I have expenses that are, that I thought were needs, but were really wants? And looking back at these expenses, I don't really need them, so I can cut them. It's a good time to take stock and create a better, stronger business that runs leaner and more profitable.
Right. Okay. So take the time to see. I think the crisis has highlighted a lot of weaknesses, not just in businesses, but in general, that we didn't see before. So it sounds like this is an opportunity to strengthen those areas that need to be strengthened,
Right.
and keep it going forward that way.
Yeah. Things that people didn't know they were missing, or people that they didn't know were unnecessary. Because of a forced change, now you can sit and see, okay, I was forced to cut this off, but it's not affecting me. Or I was forced to cut this off and it's really affecting me. So how do I work around that? What's a good way to get that? And if I didn't need it, then great, that's gone.
So can you, do you have any examples of some mistakes that you've seen business owners make or about to make that you've said, no, this is a mistake, don't do that?
Yeah. And in some of the groups I belong to, I've seen it. The biggest mistake that I've seen is people wanting. So having cash is great. Cash is king. Christine and I both are very big proponents of cash is king. However, building up a pile of cash by maxing out your credit line, maxing out your credit cards, taking cash advances, pulling money out of loans, pulling money out of your 401k so that you have cash is a very poor idea in our estimation, because what it's done now is you might have cash, but you owe that cash to somebody else. It's not really your money. And so if you go and spend it on something, like you spend it to maintain your business for 2 months or 3 months, you owe it back to whoever you borrowed it from. And now you've not only do you have your normal expense payments, but you've got this added expense payment, and that could very well bury you. So that's the biggest panic response that we've seen. The mistake that we've seen people be about to make is to try and scoop up cash from sources that aren't good sources of cash. But something like the stimulus packages that are out there, these are relatively cheap money. So that's not necessarily a bad response, other than it's going to bite us when we have to pay it to the government in 10 years anyway.
Right. Well, I guess there's a lot going on, like here in the US, with the different opportunities to borrow, and some of those loans could potentially be forgiven. But I think there's a lot of diving into how you're going to meet those requirements.
Right.
Right.
But and aside from the PPP, what we saw people being advised to do, and some people actually did, was they let's say they had $100,000 line of credit that had 90,000 available on it. They would draw the whole thing, or were about to draw the whole thing.
Because they thought it might go away, or
they thought it might go away,
okay.
or for whatever reason, they thought, I want the cash, not the credit. And in our estimation, that's a very poor move. Even if you put it aside, now you're paying interest on it, and a line of credit could be up to 8-9% right now, which is terrible. So those are the kind of moves that aren't really going to help you. It makes you a little comfortable. It gives you a warm fuzzy feeling for 10 minutes, and then you realize, oh crap, I got to pay that money back.
Right. And
but with the forgiveness, you mentioned the forgiveness of the payment protection plan. Yes, it could be forgiven. What I'm coaching people is, until you have something in writing from a government official that it is forgiven, it's a loan.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's our biggest concern, is making sure that if you are getting, and have been one of the fortunate business owners that, official small business owners that have gotten the PPP loan, is making sure that you have the advisement of following all the rules, that you are utilizing those funds properly once you do receive them, so that if you do get, the funds do come through to where they release the rules of this is how it's going to be forgiven, you're managing those funds properly. So, making sure that if you do get them, put in the effort to work with somebody to advise you on how to manage those funds and use them appropriately.
Right. Okay.
And the fun part is the government has changed the rules 6-7 times already. So that is also one of my fears, is that people are going to rely on something that was said on April 15th, and on May 1st, the rules are totally different. So that's another reason it helps to work with someone who is following this very closely. And I spend probably an hour a day checking updates, because it's, and if and until, like I said, if and until someone says this loan is forgiven, it's a loan. And with the rules changing, there's a great possibility that they're going to twist the rules so that they get the money back. So it's really important to pay close attention, to work with someone to make sure that you're doing everything right for that. And Aaron had asked a question about the EIDL. It does have per annum interest. It is fairly low. I think the last I saw was 4 point. But I thought I read yesterday that the EIDL was out of money, or they were not taking applications anymore. So if you haven't gotten it and you're in the queue, be patient. It is a viable option. It's not as good a viable option as the PPP. So, all right, 3.75%, someone's saying. If you have to have it, and it's also, as I understood the EIDL, it was on a much longer payback plan, so it becomes a mortgage, essentially.
I think it's like a 10-year.
Yeah, I think it's anywhere from 10 to 30.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and I can't quite see who
and
that
it
was.
doesn't. Yeah. So if you had, so let's say, I hope nobody here does, but let's say you had a lot of credit card debt. This might be a good opportunity to take out a loan to pay off that high interest credit card debt, and instead you're paying 3 or 4% or 3.75% versus whatever the credit card debt is. Because I did see on a different event, somebody said, well, should I stop paying my credit card bills because I can't afford it? So I was like, well, maybe just try to get one of these lower interest loans, and then you're paying less, right?
Okay, you bring up another question too, with regarding to not paying your loans and getting payment deferrals on mortgages or equipment loans. What the banks often neglect to tell you is, okay, if we're going to defer your payments for 6 months, make sure that at the end of that 6 months, they don't want 7 payments that day.
Right. Is that a balloon payment that you're going to owe,
exactly.
right?
And that's what a lot of banks are doing with deferrals. They are saying, okay, you don't have to make your payments for 3 months, but on day 4 or day 1 of month 4, I want all the payments that you missed. So if you're going to renegotiate a loan, make sure that those payments are tacked on to the end, so that you've basically put it on pause and extended it out 3 or 6 months on the end, and not just held off on making those payments that will suddenly become due and make you very cash strapped at the end of 3 months.
Yeah, it really makes sense. What I'm hearing from you is almost don't try to figure this out on your own. You really need an expert to guide you through all of the intricacies of how you negotiate these things and which are the right fit for your business if you need it. But what I also hear you saying is, don't take out a loan because you're panicked that your cash flow might go down.
Right.
Like try to look with a clear head at your actual situation. And don't look at, and I think it's appropriate to plan for different eventualities. Like, well, maybe this could happen in the economy and it would impact my business this way. And maybe this could happen and it would impact my business that way. But be clear-headed about it and have some different plans, not a panicked plan.
And more importantly, go over your thought process with an expert, with someone you trust, because it's an objective point of view that will see things that you aren't, because you're in the middle of it. I mean, you're the one drowning, so you can't see clearly as to what the best path out is. So talk with an advisor and find out what they think, because they're going to give you ideas that you might not have had, or they will back you on your plan that, yes, this is right. Good job.
Yeah. And I think that human nature, whether we're in a financial crisis or not, is sometimes we come up with ideas and we can't. One of my favorite expressions, you can't see the label on the jar that you're in. You're so in it that you can't see things clearly. And it really helps to have somebody outside of yourself that you can bounce things off of and that can give you a different perspective. That's why I love these strategic action groups that the two of you are doing one, and some of our other pumpkin plan strategists are doing, because you can have other people in your industry and in a similar industry go, yes, dude, that's a great idea because that worked for me too. Or, oh no, big mistake, you need to consider this and this. And it just helps us get perspective. And especially in areas that we don't necessarily have expertise. It's always good to have somebody else who has looked into it, has researched it, has the experience and the expertise in that area. We're getting a bunch of comments and questions, so I'm thinking maybe we could stop and address a few of them. Steve had a good question. Sorry, that's my dog, folks. He decided to join us. Steve wants to know what's the next best step for a landscape business that is not practicing profit first or pumpkin planning right now, or they're not doing that yet. And I think that could apply to any company, but if you want to use landscape as an example, go ahead.
So I would say, that if they could look into applying profit first or pumpkin planning in their business, and if it's something that they might feel is not quite a fit for them because it may not be a fit for everybody, or they may not feel that the whole system, applies to them. There are some, tools that I would say in the pumpkin plan strategies that you don't have to use all of them for them to be successful. There's a number of tools in the pumpkin plan strategies where you could pick them out and use them individually, and they are very, very successful, in moving the business forward, and even improving areas of the business that are just fantastic. The other thing I would say is definitely work with a coach or an advisor, and a financial professional. If you're not going to be applying, or practicing a profit first or pumpkin plan, work with a coach, work with an advisor, work with a financial professional to help you really understand the financials of your business, to understand the financial planning of your business, and to have a business plan in place. So you're making the necessary, steps forward and know what it is that you're doing, what you need to do and establish in your business to grow your business. So you're not going 50 different directions at one time. And what you are doing is in your business is you're spending the time and investing it in the right areas. So that would be my best advice.
Yeah, in my experience in life and in business, when you have a plan, you take the emotion out of it, because you've taken the time to plan, and then when the stuff hits the fan, you don't have to be making decisions in an agitated fight or flight state. You can just go follow your plan.
Even more than a plan too is the preparation. As Mike Tyson was fond of saying, everyone has a plan until they get hit in the face.
Yeah.
So
how do you prepare for getting hit in the face?
You get hit in the face in practice. That's what happens. That's why you spar.
Right. Okay.
But the preparation too. So if you've got a plan, it's not, because what I always like to tell people is I can plan to run a marathon. I'm not prepared to run a marathon. Mm-hmm. So it's the putting these steps in action to make your plan a reality.
It's not write it down and stick it in a drawer, but it's create the plan and
putting
start
it on a
doing
sticky note on. Right, a sticky note on your monitor is like, I'm going to plan to do that. Well, all right, what have you done to move towards that? Yeah. So you've got to act on your plan, and you've got to physically and mentally move towards doing something. So getting a plan is great because it's the first step. but then you have to take the next step and act on it.
Okay, so Christeen, you mentioned that there are certain tools in the pumpkin plan that you think are really helpful and could be helpful right now. Do you have one or two that you love to use that you're using with your clients right now?
Yeah, I would definitely say, the sweet spot assessment is a great tool, to use, and we use it for a number of uses. So, it helps us identify, in working with a client, kind of like what areas of their business needs help. So, whether it's like their systems or their offering in their business. So it helps us not only understand what our client understands, because they're in the weeds. We don't always, as business owners, see the forest between the trees. So what we may perceive our business as isn't always what our business is. So that really helps us understand not only how our client sees the business, but also where the business really is. So that's a really great tool to kind of assess like where this is, and then can we improve some of those little areas, to just kind of get you closer to your sweet spot and identify your unique offering. So that's fantastic. The other one of my favorites is the wish list interviews.
Yeah.
So that is a fantastic tool. It has helped really hone in on some amazing insight. And it has helped, my clients identify some of their just unknown areas, like clients that have been in business for 30 years and have successful businesses. And they have uncovered some just clientele, like their top clients that they didn't even realize that they had, that were buying their top offering. And they realized, I could sell my top offering to these top clients and make so much more profit. Instead of selling, to 1,000, I could sell to 500 and make 3 times the money. And they were right under their nose the whole time. So
Right.
It is a powerful, powerful tool.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And if you know who your best clients are and what they're buying, and you can focus in on that even during a crisis, how can I better serve these top clients right now?
Yeah.
Um,
And market to other ones that you don't even have yet,
right.
because you identify who they are.
And that's another really good point. I think a lot of business owners, because of what's happening in the world and the economy right now, are almost pulling back on their customer contact and on their marketing. And I think now is not a time to pull back on your marketing at all, but rather to get out in front of people and let them know what you have that they want and need right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they don't hear from you, they don't know. And I think unfortunately, I think a lot of service providers are missing the boat on this.
Yeah, now would be a great time. There's so many people out there, with everybody being in quarantine. There's a lot of people out there that are alone, and, people are home, and, they're not at work. They're not going out and having that day-to-day conversation and contact. And so they're at home. They're not having the usual conversations and community that they typically have. So it would be a great time to reach out and have those conversations with them, and have those wish list interviews, and say, what is it that you love about us? And it would also let them know how much you really care about them, and making that contact and taking time out to have those conversations. And they would let you know what it is that they love about you and your business.
Yeah. And if there's a small thing that you think you could do to make their day better, pair that with your wish list interview. Say, I would love to get on a call with you. I have something for you, and I would love a few minutes of your time so that I can talk to you about how I can serve you better. And the wish list interviews are in the book, The Pumpkin Plan. There's an abbreviated version. We have a more lengthy detailed version of it in our program. But if you're not sure what the wish list interview is, it's really about getting the information from your best clients, not all of your clients, but your best clients, about what they see as outstanding about you and what are the things that are lacking in the marketplace that you can fill in those gaps. It's usually all the gold is in the wish list interviews if you do them well. And I agree, this is a good time. I'm not saying there aren't people who are very busy. There are some people who are busier than they used to be because of their businesses are now in high demand, maybe, or their, things that are going on in their homes, like they have kids at home and spouses at home and they're at home. But don't make the assumption that they don't want to be bothered. Always make the assumption that if you reach out appropriately, they will be welcoming of your reaching out, and especially if they're your best clients, because you already know they like you.
And people with kids at home, there's probably some that are starving for adult conversation right now.
Do you know that from experience?
So
conversation that doesn't include stuff like, put that down, get out of there. No.
Right.
Shoo. Yeah. No, life is different for a lot of people. And I think a lot of our businesses, we have resources and things that we can do to make our clients' life easier that maybe we didn't think about before. But now would be a great time to put that into play, or just like Christeen said, just reach out and show them I'm still here and I care. I think that if we can get really clear on who we are, who we're serving, where we want to go, we don't have to give up on that right now.
What people need to be reminded of too is that social distancing, it refers to physical distance, not this kind of communication, not any other communication. So it's even more important because you have to be physically distant from people that you reach out.
Right. Okay. So let's see if there are any other questions in here. And feel free, if you have questions for Dave and Christeen, post them in the comments and we'll try to get to those questions.
Another opportunity that I think would be really important to bring up is measuring the numbers in your business in this time. So, in this time, we're in a recession. The impact that is happening on your business financials, measuring them now is so important because it's going to tell you what is going on in your business now. And as much as some of us may not want to measure and look at what the recession, and how it has impacted our business financially, or the change that it has, had in our business, it's really important to know your numbers now and to see what effect it has had on your business, with the changes in the environment, the changes, in your product, your clientele, your revenue, your expenses, all of that. It's going to give you the numbers that you need to prepare for something like this in the future.
Yes. I think, it's interesting to me. There are probably a lot of businesses out there that started after the 2008, 2009 recession and have never been through an economic crisis. And most of us, even if we went through that recession, this feels very different for a lot of reasons. But I think that once you go through something like this, it gives you that blueprint for saying, okay, we have to plan for certain eventualities in our business. Profit first is one way to do that, because you are making sure that your business is not living paycheck to paycheck, basically. You have a buffer in your business, and understanding what is the impact if I lose 20% of my business, 50% of my business. Now, I don't know if anyone can plan for losing 100% of their business. That's that's something that most of us could not have imagined, I think, a few months ago. And some businesses are facing that. But in our personal lives, I think we're all told to plan for that. What if if you lost your job, how many months could you go without any income? And as businesses, I think this is teaching us that we need to look at the same thing as a business. And it kind of goes back to knowing your numbers, but also knowing, how can I generate cash in a way that's in line with who we are and who we want to serve to get us through this time?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's, in some businesses, and this is a really great example, we have a client who runs a spice shop in the Bay Area, and she has 3 brick and mortar locations. She had to shut her locations because they, had the shelter in place. And they also have an online store. So they moved everything to online sales. They have been such a high demand with their online that they are over a week behind in filling their orders.
Yeah.
So with her measuring all of her demand at this point, from this impact and this change in the recession and the effect it's had on her business, if this ever happens again, she's going to be able to, see what would I have to do to prepare, with her staff, her employment, her product, her inventory, all of that type of thing. So it gives you more than just a financial perspective. It gives you a perspective on operation, inventory, all of these things. It's a full plan.
Yeah, because you're not just looking, I'm sorry, Dave, I'm just one thing, and then I'll let you talk. You're not just looking at your cash flow, you're looking at, how would I scale up different areas of my business if another area was not able to function?
Yeah.
And that's a perfect example of what we mean by pivot, of switching from focus on brick and mortar to focus on online. So something that provides you with cash, it's an excellent redirection of your efforts. That's a perfect example of a pivot.
Exactly. So you're using the resources that you already have and marketing to your top clients, but also potentially new clients who are now. So apparently there's something called quarantine baking or something, like basically people are using baking as a therapy. So I would think if you sell ingredients for baking online, that's in high demand. I think in some areas there's a shortage of flour. You can't get flour.
You can't find flour or yeast anywhere in Seattle right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's really, and I think another thing to plan for and to think about, I think the whole country needs to think about, is supply chain. What happens if your supply chain, if you only have one supply chain, one place where you get all of your supplies, your ingredients, what happens if that supply chain is broken? So I think that the opportunity here is also to see where our weaknesses were and make sure that we plan in a way that says, okay, we're going to address those weaknesses. So if anything like this happens again, we have a plan for that.
Yep.
Looking at your supply chain is critical too. And what people don't think about is what the supply chain means to every business, because it looks very different to every business. So if you're heavily dependent on something that's imported, then that could be in trouble. If you are in construction or landscape, you're less dependent on things that could possibly not be delivered. And accounting, our supply chain is software. So we're in decent shape that way. But every business has a supply chain, whether they realize it or not. So everyone should take the time to analyze, what do I need? What could be cut off? What is my plan? And what am I prepared for, to use my own words, if that breaks?
Yeah, it's true. Even if you are a service-based business, there are products and services that you rely on.
Correct.
Right. So let's say, for example, Zoom went down tomorrow and was unavailable. And we're on Facebook Live right now, but I do 90% of my business on Zoom. What would I do? What would be my alternative? So there's Microsoft Teams, there's, there's the phone, right? But the point is, if I'm in a panic because I have an event or a meeting in an hour, what do I do? Right? Or if I need to plan for the next month. So I think you're bringing up a really good point, which is we become very reliant on specific areas, specific suppliers for our business. And I'm not saying we should have 5 different suppliers for something where we only need one, but I am saying it's good to examine how you operate your business periodically and look at your systems, make sure you have the best systems, and what are your backups? Like, what's your redundancy?
Yep.
So, yeah, I think you guys are bringing up some great points. And what always happens to me is I get off of these calls and I have like a list of 5 things that I need to go do right now, right? Because I'm like, oh, I didn't think of that, or I forgot about that. So I learn a lot every time we do these. And so a couple of the comments before we wrap up. I did see that Erin mentioned about the wish list interviews, that that's what actually led her to create a whole new offering that she didn't know her top clients really wanted and needed, but after speaking with them, that led her to it. We do have someone, so this is an interesting situation where somebody has a business where he doesn't normally have contact with his clients, and potentially, I'm not sure if he knows who they are. So it's kind of more of an anonymous type business and wants to know how can he gather customer data. That might be challenging right now in this environment. But my question would be, do you have any data on who is using your service, and is there a way that you can reach out to them?
Let's start at the end. What are you going to use the data for?
Right. Well, I think he's talking about the interviews. Like, how do I do interviews if I don't know who my clients are or I don't have contact?
Okay, so if the goal is to gather the client information to be able to do a wish list interview, then that's perhaps something you could put a poster in your laundromat saying, "Hey, I'm looking to serve you better. Would you be willing to help? And could you then fill out a survey?" That way it could be anonymous, but
right. Yeah, put something.
Being open and honest with the customer as to why you want their information, and it's so that you can serve them better and provide a better product or service for them.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's a way to contact people if they leave you a review. That's another, maybe that's another way to figure out who's using your service and get some customer information, or put up a sign in your location. It's a coin-operated laundromat.
Yeah.
So I know that I've been in laundromats where you don't actually use coins. You have to get a card. Mm-hmm. So then there is a way to get people's information because they have to purchase a card and they use the card to activate the machines. So, but they also tend to have phone numbers up, so you could incentivize people to go to a site to, like Dave said, fill out a survey or something like that. So
Especially if they're waiting there doing their laundry.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Can be.
And if you're using a card like that, then say offer them a free cycle. If you fill out this survey,
yeah,
we will credit you with a wash and a dry.
Yeah, something like that. Exactly. So normally I would say if you have the kind of business where you have regular contact with your clients, you don't necessarily need to incentivize them to talk to you. But if they don't know you, if you are just kind of a faceless business owner to them, then you might need to do that kind of incentive.
And that's where it's important, again, to say that, hey, the only reason I'm asking these questions is because I want to make the service I'm providing better.
Exactly. And that's always the approach. This is not, will you do me a favor and take my survey?
Right.
That doesn't work so well.
No, this is going to benefit you if you respond to me. Right.
Yeah. I want to make you look forward to coming here to do your laundry. Yeah. Right. And if that could be the case, hey, I'll go out and do my laundry too.
Install some taps, Patrick.
All right, let's not get sidetracked here. Okay.
Best laundromat ever.
Right. No kidding.
Studs and studs.
Disco laundromat. I know there's a lot of fun things you could do while you're doing your laundry. So let's see what else we've got. We have, do you see something, Christine?
Yeah, so there was a comment here about how a product that was cut off for you being able to purchase like 6 weeks ago, so that's another, situation that isn't, unheard of, is like e-commerce online businesses. They have been hit hard too. I was in a business group just this last week listening to businesses talk about the impact that they've had, and e-commerce was another one that had like a huge impact. And somebody who wasn't in that industry, they were like, well, how could that be? And a lot of them, they get their import product from another country or from China, and those imports have been cut off, or it has been impacted because the product hasn't been able to come in. And so this is an opportunity for you to look at like another vendor as a backup option, or maybe even switching vendors, something like this has happened, so that way in the future your revenue is not impacted. So opportunities like that, so looking for different avenues, different vendors, a different vendor source, so looking at how your business won't be impacted for what you're doing, the products that you're providing to your clientele, if something like this were to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And somebody just wrote that in Seattle, there was a music venue that had a connected laundromat, and it was a great way to do laundry while watching live music. May still be there.
I'm trying to remember, Aaron. I'm trying to remember what it's called. I can't think of it offhand. I know what you're talking about, though.
Yeah, so we're giving Patrick some good ideas here. Okay, so here's my question. Let's assume that the economies around the world start to open up again, but things are not exactly the same, because maybe we have to do things differently in order to comply with new regulations. And so it's not like somebody's going to necessarily turn on a switch, but it's going to be a slow and hopefully steady increase back to a booming economy eventually. So what do you recommend that business owners do now to plan for the next phase of opening up and sort of coming back to, I don't even want to say normal, because I really think that there are things that have changed that a lot of people and businesses may recognize they like those changes better. So things may be in certain areas permanently different, but not necessarily in a bad way. So what do you recommend? Like, what would be your top recommendations for business to prepare now, even if you're completely shut down, or if you're partially, if there are certain services you can't deliver, but some that you can, or, whatever your situation is, like, are there some basic steps you would recommend that people start doing right now?
Yes, absolutely. And you're right. There are some industries, and I really want to acknowledge this. There are some industries that this has not had an effect on. And even some of the, businesses, like there's some lawn care and landscape industries that are doing fantastic right now. And they're like, COVID has nothing on us. They're like, we're doing great. And they're excelling and they're doing just fine. And then there's some that are kind of struggling, depending on what area they're in. And then there's some industries that, they're completely have shut their doors, and they're trying to figure out, like, right now, how do we financially plan around this, and what team members do we bring back when we do open our doors, and when is that time? When is it right? And these are in different industries. And so what we've been, talking about is really coming up with a plan. And this is what we have, been saying from the beginning, is when this first hit, sit down, come up with a 30-day plan, a 45-day plan, and start with the cash plan. Start there. Be very transparent with your team, on this is what we're doing. Make sure that they feel secure about the situation, and you're being honest with them. So spend some time on evaluating, your needs to make the business move forward. So really coming up with a defined plan, and what it is that you see for your business in the future. What services do you see need to be provided, and that you see are going to be continued as you move forward? There might be some things that may not be immediate that could be provided to the clients, or your customers. So you might only have a few that you can focus on now. So invest your resources into that. And how are those going to be delivered? How many staff do you need to bring on to deliver those? Yeah. So, don't overextend yourself. This is, you want to get to the finish line in one piece. You don't want to carry the entire team there with you, and take your business down trying to get there. So be smart about it.
Yeah, and what also strikes me is I've seen some brick and mortar businesses focus very heavily on what do they need to do to make their customers feel comfortable coming back, right?
Yeah,
so there's regulations and recommendations, but then there's also just, what am I doing to do and communicate to my clientele? This is my plan for keeping you safe and for keeping my employees safe. And just having the plan and putting it out there, I think, could go a long way towards attracting people back.
Yeah.
And we can use two massive companies as examples of this. So Costco is going the extra mile. I think they're doing a fantastic job. They're now going to require masks be worn in their stores. They've done a great job with reminding people as you go in, keep your social distancing, stay back 6 feet. They make sure that you can see them clean, disinfect the carts before you grab them. They're monitoring the number of people in the stores. The checkout lines, you have little markers that are 6 feet apart. So Costco is a good example of how to help your customers feel more safe. Every employee is wearing a mask. Every employee is taking, precautions. And then there's another big box store that is more in the home repair industry that's got an orange storefront that hasn't done anything, and it actually feels like you're walking into a germ pool when you go there.
Yeah.
And so they've done literally nothing to make their clients their customers feel comfortable. So it's using Costco as an example. That's what you want to do, is do everything you can visibly. And Costco even is sending out emails to their customers where possible, saying, hey, our store hours are this, we're now requiring you to use masks, we disinfect everything. So that's the kind of reassurance in a time like this that can be used at any time, that say, okay, hey, this is what's happened. Here's what we're doing to keep you safe and comfortable and to keep our business going, so that we're here for you.
Exactly. And it doesn't even have to be a business that is that high touch. As long as you are reaching out to your customer base, I think, and telling them, here's what we're doing to make your life better when you are ready to come back. Or maybe they haven't left, but you want to make sure they stay with you. Here's what we're doing to support our clients through this time, and make sure that we communicate that, and sort of have a plan for, and I think this goes back to the wish list interviews. What is it? Don't guess. Ask your customers. what would make you feel the most comfortable about continuing to do business with our company or restarting the business that you were doing with our company? And it may, I think that it's a very obvious example going out to a store. How are they physically protecting you? But you may want to know from a supplier or from a company that you purchase from, like, what are they doing to ensure that you're not hurt if you, let's say, place a big order, or if like what are you doing to adjust to the environment that your customers find themselves operating in, especially if you're a business to business company. So I think there are a lot of ways that you could implement that strategy, and the most easy to wrap our minds around is like the visual of wearing masks and wiping down the carts. And if you are a service provider, I wouldn't assume that just because somebody has been your customer for 10 years or 15 years, that they're necessarily going to come back to you if the guy down the street is making everybody else feel safer and showing that they are adapting to the new normal.
Yeah, it's definitely a time of change.
Yeah.
So, it's a time to take a step back, look at your offering, look at, your services that you're providing, taking some time to work on the business, would be a great investment of your time. So reviewing, what you like, your systems, your processes, your workflows in your business, your.
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
We just lost Christeen. That
So
stinks.
take the time to look at your systems and your workflows and what's going on in your business. I'll just jump right in and finish your thought. To work on the business, use any perceived or actual downtime to plan for the future and to reinforce and strengthen the business parts that need strengthened and reinforced, and to cut out the weakness.
Right. Yeah. And I think, let me see if Christeen's back. Okay. Let me get her back in the stream. Okay. Wait, what happened? There she is. Okay.
My camera turned off for some reason.
You left us. We thought, was it something we said?
Yeah.
But you were talking, so it was something you said. Yeah. So Dave finished your thought for you. So that's the advantage of having a business partner. They can finish your thoughts. We've got one more. I know we're over an hour now, so maybe one more thing to address, and then we should wrap up. But we have someone, Trish, who has a maid and janitorial service. And what she's saying is, so this is, I think, probably true in a lot of industries. Her costs are going up. She's having trouble getting all of her supplies that she needs. She does have revenue still coming in, but it's down. So her revenue is down, but her costs and her supply chain have her costs have gone up and her supply chain has been disrupted. So, I think the question is, like, what do we do in that situation? I assume that this is a very fluid situation, and it will continue to be fluid. And, I'll tell you what my reaction is, but I would like to hear yours. Unfortunately, I think what's going to happen is that certain industries are going to have to pass on their increased costs to their customers. Not in a price gouging kind of way, but just because they can't operate profitably because their costs have gone up.
Yep.
Right.
Okay. So you guys,
you're not forced to operate at a loss because your supply chain jacks the prices. Yeah, I mean, you have to pass that on, and it gets passed down the line. So, Trish, in your situation, you have to raise your prices, and you're not alone. So it's not like you're pricing yourself out of the market. Every competitor would have to raise their prices as well. Yeah. And what will eventually happen is the landlord will just pass that on in the form of raised rent.
Right.
And the best thing that I would advise is to be transparent about it, communicate to your customers what is happening and the situation, and that as you move forward, that you will continue to, adjust the pricing based off of what you are experiencing as you continue to do business. So once you start to experiencing that the cost lowers, that you will lower your prices accordingly, and that you are only having to do this because of the situation.
And
the transparency will be a very meaningful to them.
And I also think it's a great time, especially for the cleaning services industry, to talk about what you're doing to make their space extra clean and extra sanitized. Like,
focus on the extra work you're having to do, which will in turn soften the blow. But Christine is right. Be transparent. Hey, my prices were raised 50%, so I have to raise a price for you. But definitely highlight the extra effort and the extra mile that you're going to make their office spaces safe and sanitary.
Yeah. And one more comment, and then we'll wrap up. Somebody talked about businesses have invested in remote workers. Mm-hmm. They don't all necessarily have to come back into an office, which means that going forward, if you determine that maybe you have employees that like working remotely and it's working for your business, you could lower your, your overhead by renting a smaller office space.
Yeah. So we can speak to that. So we are a remote company. So we have, and we do accounting and taxes, and we have a secure, work platform that we work on. So we have encrypted software that we invest in. And so it does reduce, some costs, but you are also investing in, depending on your industry, you are investing in software that supports the security that you need for your industry. And then there's also things that you can do to support a remote work environment. So we have, a great team. We're successful at working remotely. We are very connected with our culture. So you can have success in having a remote team and not having that brick and mortar, to where everybody goes to the office. And it is very doable.
Right. So
I'm 1,500 miles from my nearest coworker.
We miss you, Dave. We're going to reach out and touch you here. Sorry. I didn't mean to use my hand. Not at all. It's true. The world had already, I think, started moving towards remote for a lot of industries, and a lot of businesses who never considered it before are now seeing that it could work for them. Mm-hmm. And it opens up your hiring opportunities too, if you don't have to be location specific. Yeah. So this has been fantastic. I know I've learned a lot, so I'm hoping everybody else has as well. So Dave and Christine, I know that you had a couple of things that you wanted to give away to the people who showed up today. So why don't you tell us what you have?
So we have, if you go to, there's the website that Donna shared, but we also have on the website that she shared, there is a download for the lawn care and landscape recession response. So it is a little action plan for that industry that you can download. But we also have on our resource page, which is coregrowthstrategies.com resources, there is a download that you can download, which is the business crisis trend. And it also has a description of the 5 stages and how those 5 stages work and what you do in those 5 stages. And that is a free download. That's on our resource page on our website. And there are a number of other resources there that you can download and have access to as well that support businesses and, from team engagement to other other business issues that you might be struggling with. The other thing I would like to, share that ties back to what we were talking about earlier with the survival trap is, especially right now when you are making an action plan, make sure that you are focused on exactly what it is that you need to do, which can be challenging. And this week, Mike Michalowicz's Fix This Next book was released. I believe it was on Tuesday. It's a great resource to get focused on what you need to do next.
There happens to be a copy right behind you, Christeen.
There you go.
So that dropped on Tuesday. And there is a link on our website as well for anybody who is interested, to where you could get more information, and you can do an evaluation to figure out what it is that you need to get focused on next as well. Yeah. There is a link you could go to. It is cgs.fixthisnext.com, and you could do a free evaluation to figure out what it is you need to focus on next.
So CGS stands for Core Growth Strategies.
Correct.
Fixthisnext.com.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome. And we could, when the video is over, I can type that in, or one of you guys can type that into the comments.
We'll put the links in the Facebook chat for you guys.
Perfect. Well, thank you both for being here and sharing your brilliant wisdom with all of us. We really appreciate it. And I really just want to end by saying that none of us has to go through this alone. And, join one of our groups, join Christeen and Dave's group, reach out and hire a coach, or if you've already got a business coach or strategist, or even just your accounting professionals, make sure you're getting advice and bouncing your ideas off of professionals who know what's going on and can help you make smart decisions for your business. So we'll be doing this again really soon, next week probably. So keep a lookout for our future Facebook Lives and more experts to share helpful tips and strategies with you. So thank you, everybody, for coming. And thank you especially to Dave and Christeen. And also for anyone who missed part of this video, or if you just want to watch it again, it will be posted in the Facebook group feed, and it will also be in the video section. So you can watch the recording as soon as this is rendered by Facebook. All right. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.